My son had gotten his ex-girlfriend pregnant. He decided to move in with her, so I made up my mind. I wanted a divorce and I wanted it all to end. The atmosphere was charged when my mother-in-law dropped her bombshell. The reactions were starkly different. David, my son, looked away in confusion, while Emily, his former girlfriend, appeared touched. As for me, her dramatic announcement caught me completely off guard. Mary, this is ignoring David, who seemed like he wanted to say something. I went to get something. Here's the divorce papers. I'm counting on you to take care of my husband's debts. Then I said with a smile. I handed the filled-out divorce form. Of course, I had already filled out my part. I also showed my mother-in-law a promissory note. What? You should pay for that, my mother-in-law commanded. But I just smiled and shook my head. Impossible. It's my husband's debt, after all. Then I revealed the truth to her. Hearing my story, my mother-in-law and David turned pale. Just then, the doorbell rang. The newcomers were about to throw them into a tailspin. My name is Mary Smith, a 32-year-old office worker. The company I work for is owned by my father, and my mother is a homemaker with a talent for making clothes. She used to sew dresses for me when I was young, always capturing my style perfectly, which delighted me each time. Mary, isn't this dress cute? It's Mom's latest creation. She also finished the outfit Jennifer asked for the other day, so she said to come and pick it up. Jennifer Williams, my childhood friend and best friend, has always been a pillar of support. Her strong sense of justice led her to fulfill her dream of becoming a lawyer, where she helps many people, a source of great pride for me. Mary, there's someone I want you to meet. This is Mike, Jennifer's husband. Mike, a detective known for his sharp observational skills, complements Jennifer's legal career perfectly. They've built a warm family with adorable twins. Oh, by the way, I'm married too. Oh, really? Did you meet your husband in college? Yes, exactly. David was quite popular back then. David, my husband, caught my attention with his charm during college. Initially, I was focused on my studies and joining my father's company, which seemed to intrigue him. I'm interested in joining your father's company too, Mary. After we started dating, David also showed interest in my father's company. Despite working in different departments, he quickly climbed the ranks and is now a department head. I've heard about his good reputation, which motivates me to excel in my own endeavors. We don't have children, yet our lives are peaceful with constant effort and mutual support. I'm really sorry. It's okay. Then, one day, a certain truth emerged, sparking a huge argument between David and me. I even considered divorce, and Jennifer and her family thought it might be the best solution. Mary, you're everything to me. I love you deeply with all my heart. That's why I don't want us to part ways. David pleaded earnestly, and his sincerity moved me to give our relationship another chance. Since then, he's transformed, showing me great care and even taking on household chores he used to leave to me. I chose to forgive him. Thank you, Mary. I promise to devote myself entirely to you from now on. You better. There won't be a next time. Our bond grew stronger and more supportive post-fight, and I believe we've become a better couple. If only it had ended there, but my mother-in-law had to stir the pot further. Hold on, Mary. I heard you blame David without knowing all the facts about our argument. She began shouting at me, monopolizing the conversation in my stunned silence. David is too good for someone like you. If you have complaints about my son, just get a divorce. You're not fit to be a wife. Enough, Mom. Stop it. Mary and I have resolved this. Please stay out of it. Despite David and my father-in-law's interventions, my mother-in-law continued to blame me. Without their interference, she might have become physical. That's how intense she was. I'm sorry, Mary. She tends to go too far. According to David, his mother has always been impulsive and quick to act on her assumptions. When he was young, she frequently stormed into his school, leaving his father to apologize for her behavior. I apologize. I'll speak with her. I'm truly sorry, Mary. Though I was injured by my mother-in-law's behavior, the sincere apologies from David and his father led me to let it go this time. She dotes on David excessively and always pushes for divorce over minor issues. Could that be why my brother left? David once mentioned having a brother whom I've never met. Apparently, they never got along, leading to a falling out. David's brother left home after high school graduation and hasn't returned since. Perhaps her excessive attachment stems from that. Before you press David about kids, when will I finally get to hold a grandchild? I was frequently nagged about children until recently. It's a concern for me too. I've been checked at the hospital, And there's nothing wrong. Maybe David should get checked as well. Frankly, your dad keeping your mom in line is getting old. Reluctantly, I took David to the hospital for a checkup. We're still waiting for the results, but we've promised to stick together, no matter what. Lately, my father-in-law has been managing my mother-in-law better, which has brought some peace. I'm really thankful to him. Without him, our marriage might have fallen apart. Then, one day, I discovered a letter in our mailbox. It had no sender, just a message urging me to leave David. Feeling unsettled, I showed it to David immediately. "What's this? Could it be a prank?" David wondered aloud. "It's definitely creepy and distasteful. Maybe you should talk to Jennifer about it," he suggested. Following David's advice, I reached out to Jennifer. After explaining the situation, she promptly made time for me, and we arranged to meet. "Sorry for the wait, Jennifer." "No problem. Let me introduce you," she replied. When I arrived at the cafe where we planned to meet, Jennifer, Mike, and another man were already there. Jennifer introduced me to the man first. "Nice to meet you. I work with Mike. I'm Liam Brown," he said, revealing he was Mike's colleague and friend. After introductions, I promptly showed them the letter. "What's this?" Jennifer questioned. "No sender. That means it was placed directly in your mailbox." "That's malicious," Mike added, furrowing his brow. Liam remained pensive. "Is something bothering you?" Jennifer asked Liam, noticing his contemplative expression. "This handwriting looks familiar. Could it be someone you know?" Mike probed, to which Liam nodded thoughtfully. The detectives decided to take charge of investigating the letter. After receiving advice from Jennifer, we decided to call it a day. When I returned home, David greeted me unexpectedly. "Welcome back, David. Did you find out anything?" "Not much. It's hard to glean anything meaningful from just a letter. Perhaps you should stay at your parents' place for safety. Whoever did this might escalate things." I studied David as he spoke. He appeared genuinely concerned for my well-being, yet his restless eyes made me uneasy. "I'll consider it, but why are you home, David? It's a weekday, and we should be at work." "I took the day off after discussing it with my father," David explained. "It's unusual for you to be here because of worry. You said it might just be a prank, right?" Avoiding my gaze, David's demeanor mirrored our past conflicts. Pressing for clarity, I stated firmly, "I'll decide about going to my parents after observing the situation further." While ensuring my mother-in-law remained unaware, I confided everything to my father-in-law. The letters continued to arrive, escalating with messages like, "End it now. Just leave. You're a burden. You're not worthy of David." I meticulously photographed each letter and shared them with Jennifer. "Dad, I need your help with something," I said, also seeking support from my own parents, managing everything discreetly without David's knowledge, all while balancing work. This led to me arriving home later than usual as David left the office before me. He's not home again. I wonder where he goes. Arriving home to find David absent, I sighed and waited for his return. "I'm back." "Welcome. You're late today." "Yeah, a lot happened." David arrived home 2 hours after me, his avoidance of eye contact raising suspicions. I sighed again, concealing my irritation. Sometime later, a tragedy struck. My father-in-law passed away. "You did your best." He had been ill for a while, and despite treatment, he passed away. I deeply appreciated his kindness towards me, visiting him almost daily and mourned intensely on the night of his passing. However, it seemed I was the only one deeply affected. "You handle the arrangements, Mary." "Mary can handle it." I wonder about the inheritance my father-in-law left behind. David and my mother-in-law left me to handle everything, smiling as they discussed inheritance matters even after the funeral. They departed, leaving me to sort through his belongings alone. "What's this?" While going through his diary, I stumbled upon something unexpected. Quickly collecting it, I took it to Jennifer. My father-in-law cared about me until the end. I want to honor those feelings properly. I began working quietly behind the scenes. Eventually, when things had settled, "I'm here." My mother-in-law arrived at our doorstep with another woman. Well, it's been a while." I recognized her immediately as Emily, David's ex-girlfriend. "Are you David's current girlfriend?" "Yes, David and I are together now. Seems like David's taste has changed, hasn't it, to someone more plain like me?" She was the same woman who had tried to assert her dominance over me back in college when David and I first started dating. "Emily, you and I have no connection anymore." Please leave. At that time, David and I had broken up, and he had turned Emily away. Since then, there had been no contact from her. Meeting her like this was the first time since college. Why are you two here? David's expression mirrored my surprise at seeing them unannounced. Despite my reservations, I invited them in to hear what they had to say. I've been seeing David, Emily declared abruptly. What? What are you talking about? David responded, clearly taken aback. Emily proceeded to reveal her affair with David. We met through business dealings about a year ago, and things escalated from there. I'm pregnant with David's child, she added, dropping a bombshell. No, Mary, it's not like that, David interjected hastily, his face drained of color. While he struggled to explain, I remained composed. What exactly do you want? I asked calmly, though my tone was icy, causing Emily to flinch. Then, my mother-in-law interjected dramatically, my son got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. He's moving in with her, so I want a divorce and for you to leave. Our reactions to her bombshell were starkly different. David looked bewildered, avoiding eye contact. Emily appeared smugly satisfied. As for me, I was taken aback by the sudden and dramatic turn of events. Mary, this is. David started to say something, but I ignored him, moving swiftly to retrieve something I had prepared. Here are the divorce papers. I trust you'll handle my husband's debts, I said calmly, offering the completed forms. Of course, I've already filled out my part. I'd also showed my mother-in-law a promissory note. What? You should be paying for that, my mother-in-law demanded, but I smiled and shook my head. Impossible. It's my husband's debt, after all. Then I revealed the truth. The debt stemmed from David's previous infidelity. This wasn't the first time. He had a history of cheating. Previously, he had been involved with a married woman and had to pay compensation to her husband. David had a habit of spending extravagantly on his affairs, depleting our savings and leaving us in debt. But Mary, you're the only one I love. I want to make things right, David pleaded desperately as we tried to salvage our relationship. Until the debt is settled, I've been covering our living expenses. And let's not forget, this property was originally my father's, bought with my savings. So if anyone should leave, it's David, not me. With that, I produced a photograph. It showed David and Emily walking together, arm in arm. What? You knew? David exclaimed. Yes, I knew. This photo was taken by Mike and his team. Alongside investigating the letters, I had them look into David's infidelity. And this, I continued, presenting more evidence, was left by my father-in-law. I handed over copies of correspondence between my mother-in-law and Emily, revealing their complicity in David's affair. How did you get this? It was in my father-in-law's diary. He knew about David's affair and my mother-in-law's involvement, so he left it as evidence. My words visibly shook my mother-in-law. I'll proceed with the divorce, but I won't give up this house, and I'll demand significant compensation. Looks like more debt for both of you. Both my mother-in-law and David went pale upon hearing this. Just then, the doorbell rang, and the arrival of the next visitors would turn their world upside down. I've been expecting you, Jennifer. Sorry to keep you waiting, Jennifer. Jennifer and her team entered. I had contacted Jennifer the moment my in-laws showed up. Emily and Liam exchanged uneasy glances upon seeing him. It's been a while. Finally found you. Liam greeted Emily, who appeared stunned. In fact, Emily and Liam were once married, but they divorced after Emily cheated. She's been avoiding paying compensation ever since, which explains her reaction. Now, Liam. I can't believe it. You're my brother? Long time no see. I didn't know this, but Liam is David's brother, the one who had a strained relationship with my mother-in-law. Liam cast a cold glance at David and my mother-in-law. You always enjoyed hurting people. Let's go, Liam said, gently urging me forward. I left the house with Liam and Jennifer. Wait, you have 1 week to pack up and leave. Otherwise, I'll sue. I heard David's voice behind me. With just the essentials, I departed. Oh, and one more thing. I turned back to face David. How did you get her pregnant when you're infertile? My bombshell left them stunned as I walked away with Liam and Jennifer to my parents' house. That was tough. Take it easy now. You can rest here, my parents comforted me, already informed of the situation. We began discussing what would come next. And to think, David was infertile all along. No wonder we never had children despite being intimate. Yes, David was infertile, something I found out from the hospital before. I never got a chance to tell David about it. The letter incident happened, then my father-in-law's funeral. It was all too much chaos. So, the child Emily is carrying isn't David's. And since Liam and Emily have been divorced for over a year, it's not his either. It seems they're a perfect match. They're both cheaters, after all. Suddenly, I checked my phone, which had been on silent. There were dozens of missed calls from David and my mother-in-law, along with numerous messages pleading for me to return and talk. Are they contacting you? Show me, my father requested, and I handed him my phone with a stern expression. Just then, David called. My father pressed the answer button. Mary, explain everything. What's going on? David's voice came through, and he started speaking rapidly, unaware of my father listening in. What do you mean I'm infertile? David's plea to let him stay in the house and his insistence that he had no one else but me echoed clearly, filling me with disbelief. You seem to greatly underestimate your daughter, my father interjected firmly, halting David's words abruptly. I've heard from my daughter about everything you've done. Remember your position in the company, my father continued, his voice unwavering. No, please, not my job. That's not what we talked about, David pleaded desperately. Suddenly, Emily's voice broke in on the call. David told me he was next in line to be president of the company, so I chose him to be the father of my child. But now, if you're infertile, who knows who the father is? Emily's frustration and confusion were evident in her words. As David and Emily began arguing back and forth over the phone, their voices filled with accusations and disbelief, the tension was palpable even from a distance. Do something about this, my mother-in-law's voice demanded through the phone, interrupting the tense conversation. My mother took the phone from my father's hand. Hello, long time no see. My mother-in-law sounded surprised upon hearing my mother's voice. Recently, my mother had started teaching a sewing class, and my mother-in-law was among her students. Please don't call me teacher anymore. I don't want someone like you as my student, my mother retorted firmly. No, no way, my mother-in-law responded, seemingly taken aback. She held my mother in high regard, evident from her respectful tone. The call ended abruptly as my mother silently returned the phone to me. Well, I think it's time for us to leave. Leave everything to me, Mary. We'll ensure you get a fair settlement from the divorce, Jennifer announced, preparing to depart with Mike. I thought Liam would leave as well, but he paused and addressed me directly. Mary, please read this later, he said, handing me a letter before following Jennifer out. As I watched them leave, I opened the letter Liam had given me. It overflowed with his heartfelt feelings for me, stirring my emotions. Well, not bad at all, my mother commented with a laugh as she peeked over my shoulder to read the letter, while my father smiled wryly at our reactions. A week later, I returned to the house with Liam by my side. Mary, you came back. Stop joking. I'm just here to get my personal belongings, I replied firmly, ignoring David's attempt to cling to me. It appeared only David and my mother-in-law were still residing in the house. I fixed David with a stern glare. Didn't Jennifer tell you? Leave this house as soon as possible. Thanks to Jennifer's legal assistance, our divorce had been finalized smoothly. Furthermore, they have been instructed to vacate the premises swiftly as the house will be listed for sale within a month. But can't you reconsider? David pleaded desperately. Don't come near her, Liam intervened, pulling me protectively close. David's expression twisted as Liam shielded me. You had an affair and blamed me so much, David accused bitterly. Actually, we're not dating yet, I corrected him, glancing at Liam. I intended to ask you out, though, Liam added with a smile, which seemed to devastate David further. Just then, my mother-in-law interjected, her voice laden with pity for David. How terrible, poor David. You must have wanted this from the beginning, didn't you? My mother-in-law fell silent as my words seemed to remind her of how she had persistently urged me towards divorce. It seems Emily suits your taste more. Well, my mother-in-law looked away, mirroring her son's habit of avoiding uncomfortable truths. Oh, and by the way, Jennifer has the will left by my father-in-law. We're opening it tomorrow at her office, so please be there. With that settled, my immediate tasks for the day concluded. The next day, we gathered at Jennifer's office to learn the contents of my father-in-law's will. And what a revelation it was. What? The inheritance goes to Liam and me. The will left everything to Liam, completely bypassing David. It was explained that David's share had been treated as a pre-death gift to offset the debts he owed. Initially, my father-in-law had settled the compensation for David's earlier affair, considering it a debt David needed to repay. As for my mother-in-law, she had been involved in an affair herself and had divorced shortly before his death, leaving her with no claim to the inheritance. The will clearly stated that the estate would go to Mr. Liam and Ms. Mary, who had endured significant hardships due to David's actions. That's absurd. This is unjust. Why should my brother who left and some stranger like Mary inherit everything? David and my mother-in-law erupted in fury at the contents of the will. Liam silenced them with a sharp rebuke. Enough, he exclaimed, unleashing his pent-up emotions on my mother-in-law until she left the house, unable to bear the confrontation. I was constantly neglected. They denied me the school I wanted and confiscated all my earnings from part-time jobs, my mother-in-law admitted, avoiding Liam's piercing gaze, all because I didn't conform to their expectations. It's outrageous. She had been expected to be a traditional housewife, which hindered her ability to pursue her own interests and education, while David enjoyed the freedom to study and play as he pleased. That's probably because David is the child of an affair, Liam stated bluntly, causing David to stare in disbelief. He had never imagined his parentage was the result of an extramarital relationship. And that's exactly why I can't let Dad's precious inheritance go to you, Liam declared firmly, his mother's shoulders sagging in defeat. David stood there, stunned into silence by the revelations. Both mother and son engaged in affairs, and their affair partners were cheating with others. It's quite a family resemblance, I remarked, without meeting any objections. David and his mother ended up moving to a rundown apartment. David was clearly terminated from his job. He had touted himself as the future CEO, leveraging his position as the president's son-in-law and taking credit for others' work. Known for his numerous affairs, David had been making inappropriate advances towards female coworkers. Following complaints from colleagues within his department, he was fired for engaging in inappropriate relationships during work hours, including with Emily. I had consulted Jennifer and Mike on the day David took leave to meet Emily, so they were aware of the true nature of the letter before I was. Emily was the mastermind behind that letter. Her handwriting is distinctive, which is how I recognized it. She tried to drive a wedge between us but ended up ruining herself. David's frequent visits to Emily's place explained his late homecomings. As a consequence, he lost his job, forfeited any inheritance, and now lives in poverty due to the alimony payments he owes me. Despite these circumstances, his mother chose not to work but continued her affairs. Eventually, David kicked her out. Mike investigated this matter while Liam looked into Emily's situation. Emily had been staying with her parents, and since I knew their address, I informed them of everything. Liam's candid explanation prompted Emily's parents to take custody of the child and remove Emily from their home. They assured me they would raise the child responsibly and hold Emily accountable for her actions. Through Liam's mention that Emily's parents were reasonable, she sought David's help, only to be rejected as he blamed her for his divorce from Mary. Mike witnessed the scene unfold as David's mother also arrived, leading to a heated altercation between her and David. Rejected by her affair partner, David's mother sought his aid, escalating the conflict further. The tumultuous argument drew the attention of the apartment residents, prompting them to call the police, resulting in both David and his mother being escorted away. This incident marked David as an outcast in the apartment complex, ultimately forcing him to relocate to the countryside. Receiving the letter from David detailing these chaotic events and offering apologies, I calmly tore it up, remarking, "It's too late now. I have no time to worry about David anymore. I'm moving forward with my busy life." "Don't overwork yourself," Liam advised gently. "I'm starting in a new department today. Originally, I was the intended candidate for the next president, not David. Currently, I'm rotating through various departments to gain a better understanding of the company, so I haven't settled into a specific role yet. I'll take on a definitive position after completing these rotations." I reflected on the satisfaction of a recent client's positive feedback. Liam also shared that his work was progressing smoothly. Recently, we began living together in a new home conveniently located near his detective office, where he often arrived before me. Unlike David, Liam took on household responsibilities with a smile, preparing dinner and greeting me warmly each day. I cherished his presence and appreciated his unwavering support. Liam had persevered through difficult times, a fact Mike had shared when I first began dating him. Despite the betrayal by Emily, Liam had shown resilience and empathy, qualities that resonated deeply with me as I recovered from the betrayal by David and his family. As I reflected on how much Liam and I had been through together and how we should support each other, he echoed my thoughts exactly. Now it's my turn to be there for him. We've both had our share of hardships. Let's support each other, I said with a smile. Liam laughed in response, his eyes full of warmth and understanding. I was just thinking the same, he admitted, his smile widening. Is that so? Later, I heard through the grapevine that Emily had been caught by debt collectors and taken away. David's mother, on the other hand, was spotted seeking shelter from the rain and wind in a park, surrounded by cardboard boxes. David continued to cause scandalous affairs in the countryside until he was found and taken into hiding by debt collectors. They got what they deserved, I muttered to myself as I prepared to leave. Liam and I had a date planned, and our lives were blissfully opposite to theirs. We're living a happy life, the exact opposite of theirs. Maybe I should be thankful for meeting you, Liam, I mused as I headed out to meet him. Sometime later, Liam proposed to me. I want to make you happy. Will you marry me? Overwhelmed with joy, I replied, yes, I'd love to. I'll make you happy too. We soon got married. Then, to our delight, I discovered I was pregnant. It was a momentous occasion as I realized I could finally give my parents a grandchild. Liam was praised by my father for being a wonderful person, which moved him to tears. Seeing his emotional response, my mother and I couldn't help but smile. When our adorable son was born, Liam took an active role in household chores and childcare, providing immense support. Our parents showered us with care, allowing us to raise our son without worries. I'm really happy right now, I shared with Liam one quiet evening. Yeah, me too, he agreed, his eyes reflecting our shared contentment. Let's continue to protect this happiness for our child and for ourselves. In my heart, I made a silent promise to do just that.